Back in the day, one of the best money making methods in Hypixel Skyblock by far was AH flipping. And AH flipping was a big part of this channel at one point. Back in the day we did wheat to Juju, wheat to Hyperion, wheat to Terminator, dirt to Hyperion again, wheat to Doctor Space Helmet. But it just isn't the same today. There's a number of different factors to why AH flipping is just not as effective as it used to be, and we're going to be talking about them today. And the first reason is the hex. Well, not the hex directly, but the update that was carried out in order to make the hex work kind of killed AH flipping, especially early game. The hex is basically just great for quality of life. You can put your item in there, and you don't need to go to the bazaar and buy individual items. You can literally just apply them straight on, and obviously this pulls things straight from the bazaar. Items like enchantments, obviously for that case, need to be on the bazaar for this system to work. Now before the hex was introduced, all enchantments were actually on the auction house, and ultimate enchantments were absolutely insanely good to flip. Now don't get me wrong, the introduction of the hex is not a bad thing by any means. It's a great thing. The quality of life improvements are immense, it makes things easier, the game runs smoother, and it just makes sense. But especially for early game, AH flipping just isn't really that viable anymore. I mean, you can make it work, it's not completely dead. Another example is diamond spreading. These used to be on the AH, and these used to sell for anywhere between 10 to 30k depending on the time of day. Nowadays you can still make profit, but just nowhere near as much. If you are planning on buying anything from the Hypixel store, make sure to use code NITROS, it gets yourself 5% off. You should also subscribe to the channel and become part of the 30%. Make sure to join the Discord server, it's linked in the description of every single video. Second of all, we have the rise of lowballing. You might think, well, how does this affect AH flipping in the slightest? Well, a lot of the big flips that you could find on the AH were basically items that didn't have a massive amount of demand. People would list them much lower than the actual market value, so their items sell quicker. Of course, those items with low demand are usually expensive items in the hundreds of millions. And a few months ago, with the increase in listing fees for items over a certain amount of coins, it's only made lowballing more prominent, i.e. basically people who would have used to have actually listed their items on the AH just for a lower price are going to go to lowballers because they may get a similar price and not have to pay the fees. Also, just the fact that on expensive items, listing fees are so high, people double check more, they just do. You know, if they list an item incorrectly or you know, the wrong price point, then they know that could possibly cost them not just 2.5% plus an extra 1% for tax, but maybe even 5% and then an extra 1%. And that's a big chunk of money. Having said that, Skyblock is Skyblock, and bozos are always going to be bozos, and there's always going to be bozos who list items ridiculously cheap. But that brings me on to the next factor, and that is AH flipping mods and macros and scripts. There's so many different kinds. Some are honestly just ridiculous, the fact that they're allowed. Others are just kind of quality of life, and fair enough. Now, as I was saying, different mods and different clients have different features. Most clients other than Badline will have a feature so that you can search a little bit more in depth in terms of the enchantments, reforges and so on the item. Which, to be honest, is fine. It's just a quality of life. I feel like there should be probably a feature to do that anyway in Skyblock. I mean, it's kind of annoying trying to flip with no mods. However, there's other things, mods and websites like Kofflemod. I honestly don't know how this is allowed. Like, I really struggle to understand how this is still allowed. And basically the website tells you, well, it picks up on good flips straight away, and you simply just copy a link, copy and paste it into the chat in Minecraft, and it takes you to the item straight away so you can buy it. I mean, you're not even flipping, the website's flipping. And honestly, this is just scratching the surface. Mods like these make it very difficult not only for people just to flip, but to actually get good flips regularly without using these crazy mods. And I guess you could say, well, if you can't beat them, join them. That would be a fair point. However, there are people out there that will abuse this very system that this mod uses. And people have created bots where they program the bot to copy a link and put it straight into Minecraft and then just buy the item. And that, to be honest, is one of the main reasons why AH flipping is so difficult at the moment. And it might not just be because of this very mechanic. There's many more ways that people can do a similar thing. Now, something else that I do want to mention is, with all the changes to Skyblock, I almost feel like Hypixel themselves don't agree or don't want AH flipping to actually be a good money making method. First of all, obviously the migration of all of items to the bazaar, and like you say, that could just basically be because quality of life and the hacks and so on, which it possibly could be. But then the increase in taxes, I don't know, there's a lot of different factors. No, I'm not saying that it's impossible to AH flip. It's definitely still possible, and I've done it. And I'm sure most people probably have too and made it work. But those times when you find an item and it's literally been listed for like 0.001 seconds and you're the first person to see it, you're certain you're the first person, you click on the item, so proud of yourself for that flip you've just found, only to realise that it's already gone, somebody's already bought it, and you think to yourself, how is this even possible considering it's literally just been listed? It could be the triple digit ping. Or is it something more suspicious? Now, AH flipping isn't just a method that earlier game players use or later game players use. I mean, there's literally an endless range of items on the auction house from like 2,000 coins to several billions. Now, especially for earlier game players, I feel like previously it's sort of been harder to make coins. Over the past like 6 to 7 months, we've seen the introduction of the garden and farming becoming a way better money making method than it was before. Not only that, the barriers to entry in terms of farming are very low. In terms of the items you need, the levels you need, it's all relatively easy to achieve. Anyone can start a new profile and within half an hour be on the garden and already farming. Granted, not making a ton of coins, but given time, they will be. You can make upwards of 15 million coins per hour from farming melons. Now, this never used to be anywhere near the case. It's insane. Now, if you know that you can consistently make that amount of money just from farming melons, is it really worth even trying to AH flip, or is it just better to try and, well, just farm melons and get a better farming setup? I mean, especially for early game. And considering especially for early game players, farming is going to be way more consistent. Could be better, could be worse, just depends on how lucky you get AH flipping. And I think the rise of skills like farming and being able to make you so many coins has sort of made people have second thoughts as to whether you should even AH flip. Now, I don't really see as many people AH flipping at all anymore. Maybe that's just because it gets less exposure. I don't know. It's pretty hard to say. But I know for me, one of the main reasons why I stopped AH flipping is because, number one, your margins have to be way bigger, considering now you have to pay more fees and tax. And number two, the flips are just way harder to win, because it seems like every time you find a good flip, it's instantly gone, even though you've literally found it when it's been listed. It's really confusing. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.